Okay, then. See how this one goes, won't we? Still a bit too hot. Still a bit too hot. Except for also custom. What is custom? Oh, hello. Turn off the store. Initial equipment. Allow permanent death. Okay. This is good. Oh, yeah. No, this is good. This is positive territory immediately. 5 seconds in. Look at that. So, running down the list, we can toggle hunger, thirst, temperature, oxygen, crush depth. Underwater bases require reinforcement. Crafting requires resources. Crafting requires blueprints. Technology requires power. Story. Initial equipment. Allow permadeath. Oxygen alerts. Hunger alerts. Thirst alerts. Temperature alerts. Organic oxygen sources. Weather effects. Vegetarian diet. Cannot eat animals for nourishment. How long a day is. How long a night is. Frequency of bad weather. Damage multiplier. Vehicle multiplier. Predator multiplier. Creature multiplier. Hostile multiplier. Peaceful. These are good. I'm already liking this. But we're actually going to be really boring and vanilla, and we're going to do survival.
This is the farthest that I can take you on company space bucks, Robin. You sure you want this?
Space bucks?
The research is in everything.
It is to me. And Sam. I need to know what happened.
The meteor storm.
I can use it for cover from Altera's eyes.
Gonna miss you, Robin.
I'll find my way back.
So we have a voice actress, which was spoiled for me yesterday. Yeah.
Approaching 45-46 feet. Surface temperatures. Drop pod deployed.
And we're dead. Oh. Oh, wow. Okay. So that's a thing. I guess snowstorms are going to be something I have to worry about. Cute. Cute. So, a long time ago, we were getting ready for... We were doing the original Dragon Age stream. It was just a regular stream. You know, kind of lore running, not really. And as we were going through, several people kept talking about Dragon Age Inquisition. Now, I have two distinctions for the sake of clarity. There's mentioning and then there's spoiling, right? Now you might think, what's the distinction? Well, if I say it was his sled, then that's a spoiler. But if I say something like, oh man, I can't wait till you see such and such, or, oh, you're in the whatcha-fig zone, or, oh, he's about to see the thing, like just little stuff like that, mentioning can still reduce the overall enjoyment of a work, because it's really easy to put two and two together when you mention things, and it kind of adds a little bit of a predisposition, a prejudgment, if you will, when you go into it. This is true for movies, books, games, even music, YouTube videos, for God's sakes. So, yeah, exactly, Kira White Noise. So that's mentioning. So during the Dragon Age run, we were actually going through Awakening specifically. I typed up, I got the text up here, like this, a little more professionally formatted nowadays. But I typed up, no mentioning Inquisition, please. However, the text was formatted a little bit wrong. So the font was like 500 size font. So instead of saying no mentioning Inquisition, please, the only part of it that was on the screen, was no men in gigantic letters. And it sort of became a meme after that. I broke down laughing. Because it's just imagine you walk in on a Dragon Age stream, no men, just completely covering the entire screen. Well, there's two big reasons, Yura. First is what Kira White Noise just said. Patching. So this applies a little bit more to PC games than other games, but got to get those day one patches in, which are extraordinarily common nowadays. But the second reason... I'm gonna go back where it's safe. The second reason is because it's basically a trade-off, right? Do you want to strike while the anvil is hot, get right in and try to be part of that initial crowd, or do you want people who want to see your reaction to the game have a chance to play the game themselves and have a chance to let the situation settle a little bit, and then go ahead and do it? And the general approach is that the latter works in almost every case. Ignore the obvious patch reasons. Allowing people a chance to either play the game or go through the game, or allowing that initial buzz and flow to settle down, tends to work out better. I'm not much of a strike while the iron's hot kind of a guy. That's never been my approach to the show professionally, and that's very deliberate and on purpose. I prefer to come in well after the anvil's cooled to really look at it and be a little bit more analytical and careful in my consideration. What's the difference between a review stream and a premiere run? You know what? Good question, ProAxel. So let's actually rewind a little bit. Some of you may or may not be aware of the fact that back in the day,
Oxygen.
I would label all of my streams, oh god, it's snowing, or review stream, or sorry, classic run. There was classic runs and there was premiere runs. Now, most people didn't care about that distinction, and that's fine. That was there for the people who do care about that distinction. What's the distinction? What review is going to be more thorough and more accurate? A review of a game I've never played before, or a review of a game I know extraordinarily well? Now, the idea here is that this one is. So I labeled it classic, specifically to say this is something that I am actually going to be able to go more in-depth on than I otherwise would, because I know the game better. Now, back during the Fallout streams, which is actually very recent, it's just a few months ago, it was pointed out that neither Premiere nor Classic really qualified for that. So after some feedback and some thought and some back and forth, we decided, all right, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and just label everything a review stream? So everything is now a review stream. However, we go ahead and label it separately on the actual review document. This, for example, will be an unfamiliar stream. We've got blind, which is when I know absolutely nothing. Unfamiliar, which is when I only have the basic precepts. Familiar, which is when I know the game at least a little bit well. And veteran. We haven't actually done a veteran run yet. A veteran run is exactly what it sounds like. I know the game inside and out. And that way you get a little bit more of a gradient on how familiar I am with the game when I review it. So this is an unfamiliar review. I'm going to poke down briefly into what is clearly the outer reaches of hell. I'm now going to leave what is clearly the outer reaches of hell.
That sounds like a distress call.
That is straight up SOS.
Unknown origin.
Yeah, the surface in this game is just... Like, in the first game, if you remember, the first time I ever streamed Subnautica, the first time I found an island, it was like, oh, thank God, land, surface, oh, it's safe, it's clean, it's safe. Everything's amazing forever. And this game, it's been more like, oh, God, I need to get back underwater. Holy crap. Oh, God, what's going on up top right now? Let's go look. Oh, Jesus Christ, back down, back down. I mean, obviously, there's some exceptions to that. There are some games where nighttime... should be longer. Listen, Crazy Norse, it's literal hell. Literally hell. Giant trunks of evil... I mean, look, Cthulhu clearly lives here.
Fred, I'm not blaming you. But what do you mean it's gone? Where did it go? You found some trouble somewhere in the deep twisty bridges and decided to jettison modules?
Yeah, I had to jettison a module. I got free, went back for it. It was just gone.
And you think someone stole it?
Or something. I didn't lose it, that's for sure. I'm careful with my tools.
I'm sure you are, but you have to admit there have been a lot of sea truck accidents, and they're rather expensive.
You wanna follow me on a few runs tomorrow? See what it's like? Conditions are way harsher than anything I ever imagined. I don't know if you could really understand it from inside your base.
That won't be necessary. Thanks for your time. I'll write it up as an accident.
You know, one thing I really don't miss about working on my own? That, but also corporate politics. Hey, here's the CEO dude we saw earlier. Looks like a douche, doesn't he? Human Resources and Communications Liaison. Yep, he's the douche.
David, you'll be happy to know the Frost Pack is making excellent progress. I must say, my management style appears to be uniquely well-suited to isolated planets. I miss you, of course, but I wonder if you feel it too. As great as we are together, we're almost better apart. Just look at how well Prosperina did in her last show. I'm sorry I couldn't be there to see it, but I'm sure if I'd been around, I'd only have made her nervous. Once this mission is over, I'll come home for a few good months. And then, what do you think if we look at reorganizing our expectations to facilitate longer-term separation success? I really think this could be a great model for us going forward, romantically and otherwise. Don't forget, I love you from the depths of my heart. Keep on succeeding in your projects. You know there's nothing I find more attractive.
Douche confirmed. Worlds. Yeah, it's really frustrating. I have actually reviewed both Outer Worlds and Outer Wilds. They have nothing to do with each other. Different genres, different developers, different everything. Completely different everything. But people confuse them so much that some people actually put money towards one when they meant to do the other, and vice versa. Both games got funding that was unintentional.
Oxygen.
Oh, I might not make that. Oh my god. If you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go hunt some delicious fish. Come here, delicious fish. Come here, that I might consume your delicious flesh. I am going to eat you, little one. Yes.
A scanner room will allow you to survey the surrounding region for fragments and material resources like lithium or copper or titanium if you need help finding it. For whatever reason.
Gold lore. Don't know yet, Craziness. It's actually going to be my next thing I do. Because I don't know. Unpowered. Right, it's nighttime. That's gonna be a problem.
Warning.
Exhibit A. matter what the game, I can't avoid just splattering fish guts all over my vehicle. Odd. I'm telling you, we need an old game like this. I need more fish paint! See, I think you've hit the nail on the head, DJT. The problem is the overwhelming majority of people manage through negative reinforcement. Now, I'm probably explaining that wrong, and it's probably because I'm stupid. But the idea is you only ever talk to your employees or deal with a situation if something's gone wrong. You never give feedback if they've done something right. Instead, you only ever give feedback if they do something wrong. I'm a big fan of not doing that. I have absolutely no problem telling people, telling my actors, for example, hey, really good job on this. Hey, you nailed this particular thing, or props to such and such. And you're right, Giga Pudding. I've seen parents do things that way. I've seen just people in relationships do that, as in like romantic relationships, as well as just friendships. Like, they never say anything until something's wrong, and then they're like, ah, it's like, but, and the problem is, while that makes a degree of sense from the output layer, from the input layer, it means all of the feedback you're getting is negative. So the only things you ever hear is how you screw up. Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay.
How long have you been stored here?
Longer than that. Warning. Sanctuary power critical. Our data can be downloaded from the terminal. We may speak more once the transfer is complete.
Transfer where?
Okay, hurrying.
We just said our PDA isn't going to be enough, and he just said our cybernetics are going to be enough. Lady, are you paying attention?
Storage medium accepted. Brace for Chasto.
Brace?
Like, she even held out the PDA. Like, lady.
Transfer.
Definitely Necron.
We will allow you a moment to process.
Don't you go silent on me. Hello?
This facility has an excellent sense of comedic timing.
This is not happening.
Exactly, Shenizaga. Grounded absolutely owes at least some of its success to the game I'm playing right now. But that doesn't change the fact that they did it. That they did think about it, they did learn from it, and they did make a better game. Work and effort was put into that, right? Let me use speedrunning, actually tassing specifically, as an analogy. I know this is going to sound weird, but hear me out for just a second. So at one point in time, there was a little bit of a controversy, just a little bit, on the Super Mario Bros. 2 Princess Peach % task, okay? That's probably my destination. Oh yeah, that looks welcoming. What happened was this one dude had made a really good, solid task, okay? This person put a lot of time and effort and work into making just an excellent task, and it was considered untouchable. One other guy came along and was like, well, hang on, you could do this extremely minor change to improve the overall time by a couple of frames. Did that, and then technically took the record from the previous guy. Where you sit on that opinion is up to you, but you can understand why there was a controversy and why there was some aggravation about that, because several people looked at that like, you don't deserve to have that ranking. You don't deserve to consider yourself the current world record holder for the task of Mario Bros. 2, because you didn't really add anything to the work, unlike the previous guy who put a lot of time and work and effort into making a very well-defined task, right? And the relevant thing here, I'm one of those people, by the way. The relevant thing here is the new guy just didn't really do much. Didn't earn it. If some new game came out that's, you know, that's like, all right, so it's Subnautica, but it's in a different ocean, and it's got these horribly gigantic enemies that roar horrifyingly. They're called Treepers. And you get where I'm going with this, right? Everything is based on previous things. That's life. We were talking about that earlier, right? We were talking that was brought up earlier. Everything is based on previous stuff. That's life. That's how that works. What matters is how much time, effort, and work you put into the thing you made based on the things that happened previously. I mean, everything not in the U.S. is better quality than in the U.S., right, Crazy Horse? Especially our streamers. Worst... I'd rather not swim right by that guy, but apparently that's just my life. Okay, cool. Don't mind me. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing is following me. Twitch is behind me. It's cool. It's cool. He was keeping up with me, too. Did you hear that? You'll notice, unlike people in movies, I didn't turn around to look, because I have a frickin' brain. I shouldn't say that. There's probably at least someone in chat right now who likes Birdemic. Go ahead, oust yourself. We're ready. We're ready to judge you. You will be judged. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Lots of copper and silver here. My goodness. If I ever need copper and silver and have the ability to get it back to base, this is my spot. Not a lot of other things. Sharknado I enjoy. But Sharknado is an excellent combination of terrible and ridiculous. And you might think, isn't Birdemic ridiculous? No, Birdemic doesn't ever push itself far enough to enter ridiculous territory. Birdemic is just kind of, in addition to, you know, terrible. Sharknado is ridiculous. The name of the film says all you need to know about it, because it's a film about a Sharknado. That's it. That's the premise. That's all you need. And yeah, then there's Cocaine Bear, which I've been hearing more and more about lately. Yeah, Birdemic should probably take itself either more seriously or much less seriously to actually be good. Actually, I do think that since we spend
weather approaching. Seek shelter.
So much time above ground, it's a little more useful, because this is kind of dark. Gonna be... Was that the storm or a worm? Nothing here. Big open area with nothing in it. Well, period. About 5 seconds ago, an ice worm just tried to tunnel out of the ice to eat me, period. Now, this is the funny part, and this is the part where I think most people and I disagree. I don't want you to be faithful to the source material. I know that sounds strange, because it's most commonly the thing that most people say is, oh my god, it wasn't faithful to the source material. Rawr. I don't care. I actually would rather they not be faithful to the source material. And the other example I was going to use to make that point, which was just made for me, but whatever, you're skipping ahead in the script here, everyone. Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is completely unfaithful to the book, which makes sense because they actually got the writer of the book to actually write the script for the movie. But the point being, the fact that they both have dinosaurs is about the only similarity between the two. And yet I absolutely love the Jurassic Park film. It's a great film, which was really done well, blah, blah, blah. Reimagining, right?
Seek fluid intake.
Reimagining and taking your own thing, doing your own adaptation of it, yada, yada, yada. Now, if you want to be faithful, that's up to you. You know, if you want to be faithful, sure. I don't have a lot of interest in that, but yet Lord of the Rings movies is a perfect example, because Lord of the Rings movies are... Pause. To this very day, people still argue the specifics of how faithful the Lord of the Rings movies are to the books. But I think the one thing we can all agree on is it something that's debatable? And that's about all we can agree on that one. Point being, I do absolutely think the movies took the books and put their own fingerprints on it. They actually changed them and adapted them to the films, to film as a medium. This is something I've argued about for literal decades at this point, is that you need to consider the medium you're making the thing in. You can't just drop a comic book in a movie. It doesn't work. You can't just drop a video game on a movie, or a movie into a video game, or a book into a song, or anything. You have to consider the new medium. It's fundamentally different. In a book, you can hear people's thoughts. In a movie, you can do visual storytelling. In a video game, you can make interactive storytelling. All of these are fundamentally different formats and need to be considered as such when doing adaptations. Sorry, bit of a rant, but my overall point here is that if they took iRobot and, hang on a second, hear me a second, made a good film out of it that had nothing to do with the book, I would be okay with that. Because what they did was they did their own take on it and made a good film out of it. The problem with iRobot was they skipped 2 steps of that process. Okay, so the Rewrite Project. What is the Rewrite Project? So, I'll give you the short version first. Rewrite Project is a series of videos that I am writing with the assistance and help of several other people who will be doing visual and voice acting work and a bunch of other stuff in order to make them actually work. There you go. And it will be my take on that particular work. The first Rewrite Project that is actually pretty close to going live right now, it depends on when I get lines. I'm missing lines from about 5 people. So when I get those lines in, the Diablo rewrite, which is the first one, will be done. It's good to go, so to speak. The next one we're working on is Battletech, and the third one is Final Fantasy 1. Now, that's the short answer. 1 second, please. The long answer, of course, a little bit more. This is really frustrating. Let's do this. The long answer is that... Shut up! The long answer is that I have this weird thing that I imagine certain creative types can understand. I have a need to be creative. And I'm not saying that facetiously. I actually... Sims, right? You got the health meter, and you got the the food meter, and you got the social meter. I have a creativity meter. If I'm not creative, it actually gets to me, right? Causes me issues. And I haven't really had a lot of capacity to be creative, with the sole exception of being able to work on the theater project. Now, the theater project has actually been baked into the Rewrite Project. Yeah, I will admit, it also kind of varies. Some games are, for lack of a better way to put it, eye-demanding. Like, they really want you to be paying attention and catching things, right? A game like this happens to be one of those games. Some games aren't. Some games you can just kind of play and chill and whatever, and it's a lot easier to keep up with chat. One of the reasons why we have the QA bot is so that when I demand it, I can, you know, not miss questions. So, shadow dropping a game is a great thing, and not just because I prefer it personally. Because shadow dropping a game automatically sends a very specific signal to everyone involved in purchasing it. And that signal is, we have a great deal of confidence in this game. Did I say hi to random? Hi, random. Just about anybody, consciously or otherwise, will be like, oh, they know what they're doing with this one, and will respond accordingly. One of the reasons Hi-Fi Rush, which is probably the most recent example of this, sold so damned well so quickly, is because a lot of people looked at it and said, oh, well, if they're willing to just kind of drop this, it means that they know that this is a damn good game. Lo and behold, it's a damn good game. Go figure. In case you're wondering, by the way, the reason why gaming companies... in case you didn't know this for whatever reason, the reason gaming companies will announce game releases way too early, this is true for movie companies as well, has nothing to do with us. Has nothing to do with the viewers or the players or anything. It is entirely for the stockholders. It is something that they do to say, yes, we're working on stuff. Please leave us alone. And I'm barely exaggerating with that. You'll notice, by the way, now this is not 100% true, but you'll notice there is a trend, I need 2 more, where the stuff that gets announced way in advance tends to suck, compared to the stuff that gets shadow dropped, which tends to be good. Yeah, and if you ever need to understand why investors are... Yeah, no kidding, Mike. If you ever want to wonder why investors tend to do stupid, dumb, terrible, stupid things, it's actually extremely easy to explain in one sentence. The government of Saudi Arabia recently invested heavily into a fairly large number of video game companies. To diversify. That really says all it needs to, right there. I could really go in depth into that topic because oil nations have all been facing a crisis ever since they became oil nations, oil states. And that crisis is, oh god, we need some kind of regular income that isn't oil. Some nations will then diversify and branch out into other factors and do other things to try and make sure that they function properly. Some didn't do that and immediately collapsed in on themselves. Saudi Arabia is currently trying to diversify. But if you're paying any kind of attention, and this is where the stupid answer comes in, they're diversifying to ensure that they have other sources of revenue for their country. Anyways, I'm getting wildly off topic here. Point is, shadow drops tend to be good, but that tend to means exactly what it says. It tends to. So I think it was Crazy Norse just mentioned can't shadow drop stuff be things that are left out to die. Now that tends to happen more in movies than in games, and for what I can only refer to as a different reason. Movies are a whole other ball of wax, but occasionally you will see a game company that has no investment, no faith, no nothing in a game, and they just kind of let that game out to die. They just say, and either shove it out the window to recoup some losses, or what usually happens in game development is they just kill the project. So it doesn't actually happen all that much. But they're exactly the same, Retu. Movies are different. Movies put out movies designed to die all the time. And you might be thinking, why? That's a good goddamn question. The answer, in great simplicity, because it's actually a fairly complex thing, is that the economic ecosystem of creating movies is so reliant on itself to keep functioning that if studios stopped making movies, there's a pretty good chance the movie industry would die. The whole thing, top to bottom. And there's a lot of people in a lot of positions who have a lot of investment in making sure that that doesn't happen. I want to have a guy try to eat me as I'm leaving the thing. Hey, hey, hey! I'm driving here. Do these respawn? Does anybody know if these respawn? Real quick, no reason. I'm just wondering if we can kill it. Die! Die! So do those respawn? Yeah, I was gonna say, I was really extensive down here earlier. I got a bunch of lithium. Most of the lithium we've used we got down here, and we got a ton of diamonds. I'm gonna check something real quick, because I thought I saw something. Nope, 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 nope. Yep, okay, I went over there. I know where that is. I actually did go over there. Okay. Yep, yep, yep. Hi. Hi. Hate that 300-meter depth range. Whoops, wrong button. Wrong button, wrong button. Okay, so where was that? Yep. 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 On behalf of Zeta London 4546B, Robot Section Leader, and Ingram Cormac, President of Altera Transgov, are going to inform you the death of Samantha Ayu. She died on this planet, regrettably as a result of injuries sustained in an accident arising from her own negligence. Please allow me to communicate the most profound condolences for the loss of your sister. While further details are unavailable at this time, you'll receive contact from the Department of Insurance and Recuperation concerning your responsibilities as next of kin with regards to repayment of damages and legal fees. If you have any questions, you may file Form Y7Y-SS-SU49U2K. Your query will be addressed in sequential order.
I believe if you search this area, you can find a component to help build my body.
Alan, you just gave me a heart attack. I just want you to know that. What is a heart attack? Shut up! Well, that's the other thing. It's something I've talked about semi-frequently.
New creature discovered.
Is there's a difference between building tall and building wide. I know it sounds like a weird way to put it, but it's true. You can shore up your weaknesses, or you can shore up your strengths. I tend to prefer shoring up weaknesses in general, but it's also worth noting that whether that applies or not depends on the specific situation. Let me explain what I mean by that a little bit. Shoring up the weaknesses. So you've got 5 people on a team. 4 of them perform well, 1 of them does not. So you spend time and effort on the person who's not performing well so that they perform well. Shoring up weakness, building wide. The other mentality there is to build tall. So you've got 4 people on the team. 1 of them performs very well. That's the person you put your time and effort and resources to, so they perform even better. Building tall. Now, as always, building tall, along with everything, can, work under some circumstances. But you can probably see why I tend to lean away from that general mentality. Yep, I hear you over there, buddy. Who, Loner? In my opinion, is customer service something that's easy or hard? Hard. Customer service is much harder to do than you'd think. And you're probably thinking, oh, it's not that hard to be a decent person. No, you need to understand the kind of dumbass, aggravating, asshole questions you get on a daily basis as customer service. Just mentally pushing past that to do your job proper is a lot harder than it sounds. And that's before you get into the actual professional side of things. That's just the personal side of things. I think I killed it. Bring it! Sea truck! And just generally making it so that I'll be able to be a little bit healthier is kind of a duh. Excuse me, do you want to die too? Huh? Huh? You think I won't kill you like I killed your brothers? Huh? Oh, where are you? Where are you? There you are. There you are. Come here, boy. This is my house. You think you got something? You got nothing. You're next. Huh? You like that? Huh? Huh? Oh, you do like that. You got it. Come on, you little bugger. This isn't Dead Space Mockingbirds. Oh, he ran that time. Oh, wait. Did you change your mind? Huh? Huh? Jackass. Why are there 50 of these? There's like 4 of these right here. Look at this. We killed the other Leviathan thing. In fact, we killed a squid earlier. Oh my god. Jesus Christ, look at that thing. Look at that thing. Got a lot of sharks around it, too. Now, let's get our murder boner satisfied here. There we go. We always like building bases in deep, horrible places, don't we? Like building bases. We accept building bases in deep, horrible places.
I would. But the more I see on this planet, the less I know what to think. Who would want to destroy it?
Are you stupid? Now the problem here is if you're paying attention, what probably happened was they probably designed that log for anybody who comes here and, for whatever reason, doesn't read all the logs. Which is stupid for several reasons. I'm going to actually go into this for just a second. Because if you read the logs, then you care about the story. But if you don't care about the story, then you don't care about the dialogue telling you the story after the fact. Which means it's completely redundant, because the only people who give a damn already read the logs. Oh, God's sakes. Yep, okay, that's a thing. We've got enough magnetite for now. Let's bail. Yaka.
In the control room, you can change base lighting and colors, rename your base, and see information about power and structural integrity. But not the integrity of societal power structures.
Thanks. I don't know, do you want to be named after this? Do you really want to be? I can barely tell. Oh god, it looks like puke. I love it. Oh, I love it. Behold its glory. Hard to tell because we're getting a lot of blue coloring here. Don't worry, you'll never miss this base. Oh my god, it's green. Behold! Its glory. Oh my god. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and finally check out how the prawn that's whoa, 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 whoa. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my god. Okay. Okay. This should physics us out a bit. Just a bit. Okay, hang on, hang on. I got this, I got this. We're gonna go up, and then we're gonna... Alright, hang on, hang on. We can fix this. We're just gonna have to... You know, if the Cyclops got stuck like this, it'd be boned. But because of the modular nature of this thing, we can literally... Come on. There we go. We can break it apart. God, I love the truck. We gotta hurry, because those alligators, well, we can't kill them when we don't have the truck. Crazy horse! Why would you do this to me? What did I do to you, Crazy horse? I said Norway was cool and exactly the same as Sweden! In every way. Alright, now the hard part. Ugh, okay, come on. Work with me, come on! Okay. I can't tell if I'm moving it or not. Yeah, so now we're gonna go ahead and use the Mockingbirds. Jesus! I don't know if you could tell how maneuverable that was, but that was more than I was expecting from this thing. Alright, move! Move! Okay. Try that again. Uh-oh, that's not good. Unstuck? Can't unstuck. I can't unstuck. That's our first real bug. We'll grab 2 of the water types. And hope that they have lots and lots of fish sacks. Now, I've got some diagrams to explain what I mean by that. Like, I have kind of asterisks in my head of the to-do list, like games like these tend to work in, but... I don't know. I'm not feeling it. It's not like I am not enjoying myself, but at the same time, I'm going to circle back to what I said earlier. I've been playing this game for 8 hours today. I don't feel like I moved so much as one step forward. Even finally meeting Maeda and getting the indoor plants and getting access to the salad food source is like, okay. And it's got to be down here. Just not sure where exactly. Was it left, maybe? I would agree with that, Shinizaga. The moment we needed magnetite to do anything, and I actually had to ask people, where's the magnetite? Because remember, I never found it naturally. I never just found magnetite. That was the exact moment where the entire stream and game just started slogging, and it hasn't stopped. I have yet to leave slogging. I'm just trying to find her stupid place, And I'm failing at it here. Play more Chrono Trigger and Zelda, please. Not my decision. And Archromachus. Oh yeah, then getting the laser cutter? That was ridiculous. I should have counted exactly how many wrecks I picked up. And kept doing it, even though there was no indication it was the right thing to do. Until I finally stumbled into one that was the laser cutter. Ultimately, I think what I'm going to end on here, and I'll put this on the highlight reel, I feel like I'm wasting my time. And I think that's why it's irritating me. I don't mind spending time on a game, you know me. 37 hours in Subnautica 1, never felt bored. Never felt dull. Well, okay, that's not true, that's not true. Except for the last 3 hours, which was boring and padded to hell. Never felt dull. Never disinterested, right? Like, I've said this so many times, the length of the game is not the relevant point. But I'm already less time into this one, and I already feel like more of my time has been wasted. And I don't enjoy that sensation. Alright, let's do the rant. I'm going to leave you here so you got some music to listen to and something cool to look at while I'm doing this. One of the things I always value is feedback. And one of the most consistent feedback I've gotten for about the last 2 or so sessions, it's actually close to 3, so little over a day's worth of streaming of this game has been how boring the game has been. And I feel that too, because I've been pretty bored lately. And that's not an answer, right? Like, that's not a review, that's not helpful, that's not informative. The whole question, you know, obviously if you don't enjoy something, that's a negative, but we need to crucible down into why. Why has this game been boring? And I spent some time thinking on it, and I think I actually have an answer for this. Hi, Jesse. The game is clearly built on the bones of the first game, but structured completely differently. The first game did 2 things extraordinarily right. It tied everything around one mechanic, and then it continuously gave you methods to bypass that mechanic, and that mechanic is death. At every point of Subnautica 1, your progress and your capacity is directly tied to depth. Before you have a vehicle, how far you can go down and how much time you can spend down is determined by your oxygen capacity. So that's getting better oxygen and getting faster swimming speed allowed you to literally dive deeper. And if you were paying attention, the shallows is way up here on the surface, and it goes down in all directions, except for towards the ship, which is obviously kind of separate. But everything, like if you look at a 3D render, the shallows is up here, but as you go out, in order to even explore the other zones, you had to go to more depth, right? So the zone design, the flow, the progression, and your capacity was all tied to depth. And when you start getting vehicles, they could go down, but you could only go so far down because those vehicles had depth limits. But even that then kind of artificially extended it even further. Like you could go down 300, but then you could pop out and go down a little, an extra 100 or so because of the swimming mechanic, which used to serve you back on the surface. So it was a very natural progression, and it always went down. It was down, 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 down until you finally got to the Lost River. In which point, by the time you're at the Lost River, you generally have solved the death problem. But if you're paying attention, even the final stretch of the game, not the actual outro, that sucked, but the end game, going through the Lost River and the magma tunnels and the final lava lake, all of that was still tied to depth, right? It was still going down. So the whole game was structured around this. And that worked brilliantly. This game has nothing like that. So, first of all, yeah, exactly, Blade Too. It went way the hell down. This game, depth doesn't really have much to do with anything. The zones are structured such, and I've seen a 3D render of this, so they're mostly kind of flat, with occasional, like, chasms or cave structures that go down, but those all have things that allow you to go through them. Either the oxygen bubble plants, or, which is actually a good thing because it makes it more gradient, but also there's the vehicles themselves have no problem like getting you started and then going through the thing or whatever, like we did with the mine or like we did with the chasm. In both cases, depth wasn't really relevant to the equation, so depth has effectively been removed as being a major mechanic of progression. Now, that's okay if we replace it with something, which they didn't. Now, I'm going to pause for a moment, but I want you to remember this point because I'm going to build up to a third point. So let's build up our second point here, okay? The second point is this game has a much more directed flow towards its progression. You're supposed to go here and get this, which lets you get this, which lets you get this. I've talked about that several times during this run. The problem is they decided to not pull a Metroid. Let me explain what I mean by that. If you were to physically map out the optimal route through most Metroid games, there's a very clear flow to it. You go up here, which allows you access to here, which allows you access to here. You're always moving forward, and even the backtracking you do is what I call good backtracking, because either your capacity to go through the area has changed, or the environment itself has changed, or both. So you're even though it's doing this on the screen. Yes, I saw it, Geludo. I didn't confirm it because I'm in the middle of a rant. I even answered you. Yeah, you backtrack to go further, and it's brilliant because it's essentially a linear line, even though it's squiggling all over the map. But what this game has been doing is more like this. I'm actually going to map it out for you. Okay, go over here, then go back. Then go over here, and then go back. Go out here, and then go back. And this has been progression, honestly, since the beginning of the game. It's just been getting worse because each step out has been going further out, or further down, or further away. The distance has been increasing each time we separate, but each time we have to go back and then in the reconnoiter, and then we can go back over here, and then this, and then this. And this has been how this game has been doing. So it's very naturally backtracking in the worst way possible. So that's my second point. So they got rid of the flow of the depth, and they destroyed the flow of the backtracking. My third point is how I would fix all this. Because, obviously, moving stuff around would be another thing, but let's ignore that for just a second. What I think they should have done, my opinion, and this would involve a total reconstruction of the overworld, I'm going to be honest about that, is I think they should have made cold the new mechanic. We're coming here prepared. We know what we're getting into. We're sneaking in under Altera's thing. We've got lots of resources and bases going on. There's lots of reasons why we should be showing up here, and depth should effectively be a solved equation. And I mean just solve it. Don't even make it a thing. By the time you gain access to the truck, it can go down to like 1,000 meters. By the time you gain access to the prawn, it can go down to 17. Depth is gone. Replace it with cold. Make it so that we need vehicles which have cold modules to be able to tolerate colder temperatures. Make it so we can only go so far without freezing. Basically, it's almost one-to-one if you're thinking about it. If you make cold the mechanic instead of depth, instead of oxygen, then it's still going to be that kind of natural, gradual, okay, we can go further, we can go further. We get the thermal suit, we get the increased swim speed, we gain access to the first truck, which can withstand certain types of temperatures, but needs modules to be able to withstand further temperatures, and make it so that as we progress throughout the area, it gets colder and colder and colder, and that's where all the stuff is, and we just kind of work our ways down. And then, yeah, exactly, Dragon Center. And if we were then to really take this the final step, and I do think this is a good idea, make it so that the surface is the coldest. That's the final area. You could see it right there, but it's so cold that you only have seconds, just seconds, without all the protection you need. So you get up there, you get the prawn fully equipped with all the cold modules, and then the prawn can go on the surface, and that's when you finally explore the surface and find the bases, which are completely frozen over. Instead, cold is barely a mechanic. Cold is like tacked on crudely, like someone stapled it onto the game, and depth is irrelevant, and it's constantly backtracking. So that's my overall rant. That's the thoughts I've been having percolating, and I think that's the biggest reason why the game hasn't been working for me. Hey, Mockingbirds, go rewind 10 minutes because I'm not repeating myself. So obviously all of that's going to be some negatives, but before we get into that, I do want to say thank you to Geludo, who ignored me completely. What I said, Geludo, was first of all, thank you, and second of all, if you want to put that towards up to 2 other things, remember that you can. need to pull something. Give me a second, give me a second, give me a second. Need to get rid of this. Yeah, it's weird, Dragon Center. Like, I like the ideas they have here, and it's clear the game has moved forward in several mechanical ways, mostly quality of life features. It's just the map and the flow and the progression are wrong, for lack of a better way to put it. Thank you, Wenlock. Always appreciate. I put that towards Patchwalker. Remember, you can put it towards up to 3 things, Mockingbirds, including my sexy, sexy voice. Oh, sorry, you hate it. That's right. Including my terrible, terrible voice. Take the Hearts block. And we've got Zastil, the Keeper. Yeah, exactly, Dragon Center. There's no real tension. The structure is just off. And yeah, the whole game's cold-themed, and yet cold barely matters. In the tiniest little way. I'm okay with the game being more directed, really. I like the idea of you have to get this, to get this, to get this, to get this. That's fine. But... yeah, no, exactly, Dakota. It's something I talk about so often. It's something can't just be done and it's good. Something being a strategy game isn't good. Something having RPG elements doesn't make it good. Something having direction doesn't make it good. Something having backtracking doesn't make it good. You can't just graft a concept onto a game and that automatically makes it good. You have to do it right. You have to make the concept good. That's what makes it good. Now, I don't know the full details of this game behind the scene, but from what I have heard and read, I think that since this was originally supposed to be expansion, and they threw out a lot of their ideas like halfway through development, I feel like... yeah, exactly, Edward Bedore. I feel like what happened here was they literally spent less time and effort focusing on the game on hand, and just honestly kind of threw it together a little bit. I know it's strange, Blade Travol. Good things are good. It's weird. Hi, Zach Deft. Okay, so... morons. This is the same guy who hired an old friend of his as a favor to work a meaningless job. Now, and I'm going to explain that briefly. The guy he hired was the PHB I've referred to a few times. When I say meaningless job, I mean, I had a direct reporting line. And he was actually pretty cool. He's one of the best bosses I've ever worked under. And then they hired this other guy whose job it was to be there. Like, that was his job. He was there. And he had no official responsibilities and no official connection. So, what he did was he desperately, and credit to the guy, desperately tried to invent a reason for him to exist. Where I immediately rescind that credit is the reason he came up with to exist was to try and micromanage the overnighters. Guess what I was? And when I say micromanage, this is no exaggeration. One of the things he would do is I would get an email support request in, and I get that immediately, and I get 2 notifications of it because I'm doing my goddamn job. I'm already in the middle of responding to it and looking into what the issue is. And he would call me. Hey, did you get the support request? Yeah, PHB. I'm currently looking into it. It's with this and this and that and that. Okay, so here's what I think you should do about that. Completely ignoring everything I just said. Keeping in mind, what he asks me to do, because he has no idea what he's talking about, is absolutely the wrong decision for the situation. He's the kind of person who would say... I'm trying to think of a specific way to explain this. Okay, so Evo, you draw, right? And for those of you who don't know, Evo is an excellent artist. So what he would do is he would go to Evo and say, all right, Evo, so here's what I want you to do. I'm going to need you to draw a cantaloupe, okay? So what I want you to do is you're going to have to grab a pencil. Now, I think you should get a pencil that's that has lead in it, okay? And make sure the lead's there. It's very important. Okay, so now that you've got lead in the pencil, go ahead and lay it down. You're going to need some kind of paper, too. I'm not really sure what's the best kind of paper, but you're going to need some paper there. No, when you're actually drawing the melon, remember melons are round, okay? It's very important. So you gotta make sure to make the melon look round, and you gotta do this, right? Okay, and then you gotta have some leaves coming off of it. Don't focus on anything else. We just want the melon, okay? So okay, now go ahead and put the pencil down. And he would micromanage the dumbest things that I knew how to do 100 times better than he did. That's not ego or bragging or exaggeration. This is the guy who would inform me of how to type up an email. Not a joke.
It matters to team morale. If you can cheat in the game, how can they trust you out there?
I'm sorry, did you feel left out? Perhaps you would like to make a deal.
Ugh, part of it.
What happened here?
I sense many things here. Death among them.
That's neat. Can I go back to my audio log, please? You done? I noticed that at 35%, I couldn't even hear the music at all. Okay. That scared the snot out of me. I just froze. When I hear something behind me, I turn around and I see this figure just standing there. Like I hear this noise. Oh god, what's that? And it's just enough hidden. Just enough that I'm like, oh god!
Oh, yeah, actually, I like that analogy. Makes it hard to get along sometimes, but it's never dull.
Can we play as Sam instead of this person? Neat. It's really bad, Mockingbirds. But here, just for you. Here we go, let's do it. Alright, so, anybody who has motion sickness or any kind of visual disturbances, I'm going to warn you to not look at the screen for a minute, because this is going to be how this thing is. Hang on, do I go this way? Yeah, I think I go this way. Alright, so hang on, it's this way. This is just how this thing drives. Okay, yep, and we can't even make it over this thing. That's good. We can jump, Yeah, we can totally... Okay, we can't make it. We cannot make it through here. Alright, we'll find another path. Hang on. Everything's fine. There you go. Back off. I'll kill you. Hang on. You gotta do your mandatory cutscene effect, which I can't do anything to. Then I gotta pull my knife out manually. And then I'm gonna kill you! So anyways, that's, it? Now, I don't want to sound negative, but what I was expecting to happen was that I would do that, which I just did, and then there would be no further direction at all. You'll notice, nothing else has happened, and I have no idea what to do. In fact, by all intents and purposes, the game feels like it's done. I feel like I just beat the game. Our goal for coming here has just finished. We found out about the research they were doing. We found out what happened to the people who were living here. We finished the work of our sister. We're done. And yeah, that's the only reason I'm still streaming right now instead of pausing right now, is I was waiting for something to happen when we walk out. But nothing's happening. Huh? Now, I know, if you're paying attention, and I don't blame you if you're not, there's one unfinished thing. Literally one. Making the organs and the tissue. You know, finishing making his body. But nothing has been pushing for that. And apparently getting markers from Alan is RNG? Really? Or, yeah, or mindless exploration, or just roaming and hoping. Yeah, let's get some lunch. Let's think about this. Let's process this for a bit. Something I want y'all to be thinking about. Do you think it's worth just waiting for RNG and mindlessly roaming? Or do you think we should just give that negatives and, you know, go ahead and Google it? Don't answer now. I'll be back. So, settled down, had a thought about it. We're not currently being donated at. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's not just that this game deserves negatives, which of course it does. The question here on the table is how many negatives does this game get for what it's doing wrong? And the thing that really keeps coming back to me is, while the mechanics of the game are actually honestly excellent, the content is not. Now I want to explain what I mean by mechanics. There's two categories of content.
Seek fluid intake.
Shut up! There's two categories of content when it comes to a video game. There's the core content of the game itself, you know, the specific design of the boss battles, or the specific encounter design, or how a specific battle plays out, how a map is designed, how a quest progresses. You know, that's content. But then there's the mechanics of the game. That's how you access the content. That's the controls, or the interface, or little quality of life features, or neat little bonus things, maybe like how fast the game moves, you know, traversal mechanics, that would be a mechanic thing. Inventory, that kind of a thing. All of that's under the mechanics side of things. I've actually thought several times in the past about dividing up the two categories we cover, story and gameplay, into 4. Because on the gameplay side, there's content and mechanics, and on the story side, there's content and presentation. And both of you can see how they're both kind of the same way. I've decided not to do that because honestly, there's no real reason to divvy that up, and it doesn't change the rating at all because those are still on the story axis and those are still on the gameplay axis. But you get the overall idea, right? I do think the overall mechanics of this game are substantially improved from the previous one. A lot of the extra, yeah, exactly. A lot of the extra things, ability to customize the base, or different HUD options, or the ability to track things. All these little things are good and play awesome. So that's all cool. But I feel like the content in this game is massively lacking, to the point of being detrimental to the entire experience. I mean, this is true even on the story axis as well, because the voice acting's honestly pretty damn good, but the lines being voiced, not so much. You know, it's the same concept, right? The vehicle, if you will, of the story versus the content of the story. IPB Good Fate, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. It's nice to feel loved, or at the very least, appreciated. So, we have the same problem in both axes. I love the voice acting. I love the way they allow the audio logs to play while you're still running around playing the game. I love the little visual details they've got going on. The core content of a lot of what they're saying is honestly detrimental and frankly terribly structured. Gameplay-wise, the biomes are just not interesting, and they're not as engaging, and there's way too much back and forth, and we've got the backtracking problem in general. There's a whole lot of info and game issues. The RNG on being able to access what to do when, the out-of-order nature of it, which actually gets detrimental. And yeah, the game is quite literally shallower than the first game. Everything I talked about at the beginning of the last VOD is all related to this. But what really solidified all of this for me was a game I was playing yesterday. Yes, I can tell you that right now, Type 3B Skeleton, just off the top of my head. I actually covered that game already. I would say none of the biomes are great, no. There's some interesting ones, but ironically, the biome I enjoy most from a design perspective and visually is the Twisty Bridges. This area right here. Some actual real thought was put into its layout, what kind of things you can get where, and just the general visual design of the thing. This also extends, so I'm counting the Twisty Bridges and the Deep Twisty Bridges as the same zone. So, you get the idea. But a game I was playing just yesterday, this is going to sound like a tangent, was Metroid Prime 1. Now, if you know me, you know that yesterday was Sunday, and that means that's my family time. So what the hell was I doing playing a single-player game while hanging out with my family? So something I've been doing, I'm just going to let the game sit here, because it's not like we got anything to do. We got a bunch now. One of the things that I've been doing since I have literal decades of experience and understanding of video games is I've been trying to curate my niece, who is at the point now where she's starting to branch out and decide what kind of games she likes, and say, hey, try this type of game. And I want her to try these different types of games so that she can have a feel for what she likes, for what she enjoys. And I'm trying to get her that experience so that she has the benefit I never had. You know how I figured out what games I liked? Pure dumb luck. Now, there are games I liked that I didn't realize I liked until as recently as like 10 years ago. Never mind 20. So, trying to give her a little bit better of an experience with that. Trying to give her a leg up, so to speak. So, alright, let's do it. Let's try this. And what I've been actually doing is I've been trying to make it so that, okay, let's try a genre. Let's try to pick a particular game in that genre that I think, knowing my niece as well as I do, that she would actually enjoy. And that's the overall approach. Cool. Hopefully beneficial. Hopefully she appreciates that and or enjoys it. I know she does. I don't know why I'm saying it like that way. She has said thank you several times for the effort I put into getting her to try out new games. In fact, one of the things she'll say sometimes when I come over is, so are there any new games you want me to try out this week? And the answer is almost always yes. Because, spoilers, there's a lot of games out there. Yeah, I think so. So, yesterday, I was trying to think, and obviously I didn't really think she'd be into it because of her mentality and her preferences, but I was like, let's go ahead and try something a little bit different for her. Let's try out an FPS. Now, I know she's played Portal, and she's enjoyed Portal. She's also looking forward to Portal 2. That's not quite an FPS. That's just her getting used to the control. So I decided to try an FPS with her. This is where we get to Metroid. So I started up with Metroid Prime 1. Now, that may sound like a strange direction to take her when for a first FPS, but I stand by it completely. Especially since her primary vehicle of playing video games is the Switch. So, you know, having the ability to play a good FPS, which controls well on the Switch, kind of important. She loved it. She fell in love with it immediately. Like, you probably know what I mean by this. Sometimes she'll try a game, and she's clearly not into it. She'll put up with it for my sake. You know, she'll give it a real go. But it's obvious when a game catches her attention. She fell in love with Metroid Prime 1 like that. Just like that. And she got through the entire first level, the first stage, the frigate, by herself, loving every moment of it. I was just like, okay, wow, that's actually awesome. I honestly was worried it would be my niece, Type 3B, Skeleton. I don't have a girlfriend. I mean, I have had girlfriends in the past, but 2005 was the last time I had a girlfriend, so it's been a minute. So she just dives into it, goes through the whole stage, beats the boss on her own, figures out the mechanics of it, figures out dodging, no problems. I also, as an aside, because I was watching someone who's never played this type of game before learn how to play the game just because of how the level design is made, now have an even greater appreciation for Metroid Prime 1 than I did before because of how incredibly well designed that intro is. It's brilliant. Then, just because I feel like talking about it a little bit more, what happened is she knows what a backseat run is. So obviously I say no backseating on stream, but that's different. A backseat run is when someone who doesn't really have the mechanical skill to play on a controller nevertheless wants to play a video game. So they sit there in the backseat, and I'm the one on the controller. And they tell me what to do. They tell me how to beat bosses, how to solve puzzles, where to go for quests, where to explore next. They're the one playing the game. All I am is the controller. So she plops down on the couch, and she starts backseating for me. I pick up the controller, because she was having a couple issues with it. And I start playing Metroid Prime 1. And we we managed to push through all of the initial run on Overworld of Talon up to the Flagra boss, for those of you who know where that is. And we had just started dipping into Magmor and Fenindra before we had to quit because it was late. But I want to stress that she was so into this that after we finished dinner, she was like, "Could we go play more Metroid Prime, please? With me helping you play?" Is how she phrased it. I was like, "Of course, because I love playing games with my niece." So that was all awesome. Why am I bringing that up now? Because you know what Metroid Prime, and indeed many Metroid games do? Direction. Not for 1 second. Not for 1 second did my niece get lost or uncertain on where to go next. She always had an idea of how to progress and where to move and where to go. Just because of how the game was designed. The direction is also completely optional in Metroid Prime 1. Now, I'm not sure about 2 or 3, different games. But for 1, she always knew where she was going. And there really is a very fluid flow to it. So for those of you who haven't played Metroid Prime 1 recently, let me give something away. In the first real level, so you do the frigate, and you go down to Talon. Talon's pretty on rails for a bit, but what's most interesting about it is there's several elements of backtrack. You go back through several areas several times. But even in the first stage, even the first part of the game, where you're barely changing how you're playing the game, they're already doing good backtracking. Unless you're actively going back and literally lost, there's no point at which you're going back through an area the same way that you came through it the previous time. Lowering the poison levels, gaining access to the ball, or the bomb, or the missiles, at every point, very early on, again, this is the first stage effectively, you are still navigating and going back through areas differently. Good backtracking. So better direction, better flow, better backtracking. And as I was sitting there watching that, and I was processing just how incredibly well designed that intro stage is, I started thinking, this is what I wanted from Below Zero. And I know that sounds strange, because this is obviously not a Metroid game. But it kind of is. I mean, it's a survival game, but if you look at Subnautica, the first one, in many ways the construction of that game is like a Metroid game. It's got that thing, I talk about it like the slowly opening valves. You think of the world, and you think about the area you have access to, right? And as you gain access to tools and kit and movement and keys, this explorable area slowly expands and slowly spreads out until you can go everywhere. Once you can go everywhere, you're at the late game. And that sounds a lot like Subnautica, doesn't it? And I never realized how much I was wanting that type of level design, overall design, flow, direction, and exploration until I was playing an actual Metroid game. Yeah, exactly, Kara White. I was like, there's so many directions this could have been better. And I know a lot of the things I'm pausing would take extra time and work and effort. I understand that. But it still should have been done. Just because something isn't easy doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. This is just we need to go pretty much northeast. Yeah, straight northeast from here. You notice I keep sticking to the walls because I assume, perhaps foolishly, that'll keep me safe from the horrific worm death. Okay, this might be the Spire Cave right here. Oh my god, look at how open that is! Okay, okay. You know, going back to that Desert Nautica game that I'm going to keep pitching, think about how terrifying it is. Run through me with this, okay? Just follow through with me on this for a second. So, you're playing out, and you occasionally see signs of these giant worms. They poke their head up periodically, but you don't really interact with them all that much. They're mostly just something you see in the distance. And they always tend to show up in open areas, which is fine, because most of the early parts of the game are nice, clustered, rocky terrain, going through caverns and chasms and caves, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Then there's this part where you have to get to this vital item. And you look out at a giant open dune. No rocks. No safe harbor. Just a giant mass of desert sand. And right in the middle is the thing you need. Does it have to be foggy right now? No, it can also be a blizzard. Shut up. And yeah, another thing, and I don't want to sound elitist about this, but another thing I've slowly come to accept is that I want high-quality, polished, well-designed stories, games, movies, books, and shows. And I think I'm in the minority on that. Not that other people don't also want that, but that we're in the minority. That most people just want, let's call it what it is, McDonald's. I don't want McDonald's. I want a nice homemade burger that I made for my family, because I make a damn good burger. I want, you know, I want to go to a nice restaurant and get some really good Wagyu beef kind of thing. I don't want McDonald's. I can accept McDonald's. I'm not here to judge you for wanting McDonald's. That's not my goal or my job or my point. I'm not in that crowd. And you might think, well, what's the issue, Laura? Then just shut up and let people enjoy their McDonald's. The problem there is that people who make the decisions to make stuff do so based on financial incentive. The money people, as I so often call them. And the problem there, really, is that if something sells, then it becomes the standard. Exactly the count. McDonald's becomes is, in many ways, the standard. Not because it's good, but because it made money. This is the biggest reason I have been anti-mobile gaming for like 10 goddamn years. That might be a slight exaggeration. I think it's only been like 8 or 7 years, but still. I have been so anti-mobile gaming, not because I'm necessarily anti-mobile gaming really, although I am anti-mobage. Mobage can go to hell. But because mobile games made so much money that they shifted the market. That there are people and games and concepts that will never happen, that will never be made, because the people and the resources and the time and the effort that could have been spent on those things was spent on making crap. What's the next game on the list? Dishonored. Oh, that'll be fun. Yep, we just go from Wales to Wales. This is the unofficial whale block. And then I'll play Diablo Immortal next. That's a joke. I'm never doing that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. What is that? Yeah, we're in full backseat mode. I repeat, we are in full backseat mode. Hammer down is in effect. Like, it's actually funny. I've got a cyclical pissed off thing going on. Because we got the nightmare death over there, right? And that should be terrifying me. But it's not, because I'm too pissed off to get immersed into the game. And that is pissing me off. And so it's making me more pissed off, so I'm getting less immersed in the game. Because I'm pissed off. Hi. Well, this is my life now. Okay, cool. That's amazing what just happened. I think I'm technically a black hole now. Woo! Woo! Okay. Yeah, I am technically 105 meters long. Look at that. Alright, so, as I was about to say, story score, +7. As compared to, and we're going to compare this directly to Subnautica. Subnautica got 22. This one got 7. That gives this a story density of 0.29 for a shorter game, I remind you. Whereas Subnautica had a story density of 0.71. Subnautica had a story ratio of 100%. This game, 81.82%. Actually still pretty good, if we're being honest. Then we get to the gameplay. Subnautica 1 had a +15 to gameplay. This game had a -3. Subnautica 1 had 0.49 per hour. This one had -0.12. The first game had a ratio of 71.43%. This one has a ratio of 45.16%. Subnautica had a golden number of 101.43, a damned good score. Drumroll, please. Because this game's golden number is a little bit lower than that. At 10.22. And you know what? After all that I've gone through, I stand by that. It is still net positive, but that's so below average as to barely be considered better than 0, which of course is just mid, which is just middle of the ground, middle of the road. For a little bit of perspective, Pathologic 2, a game I had serious issues with, got a 26.66. Grounded was 107.